Did you know that more than half of all Indians who visited a doctor in 2016 did so because they had trouble breathing? Now, this number rises to an astounding 65% in pediatric cases, that is, cases involving children. The number of deaths and disabilities from respiratory disorders in India is also 2.4 times higher than the world average. And this is going to get worse in the coming years. One in every 5 child deaths is linked to air pollution or household pollution, and 90% of children around the world are currently breathing toxic air. While the major cause of allergies and respiratory trouble in the West is pollen, India has reported a sharp increase in respiratory trouble caused by dust, air pollution, dander, dust mites, cockroaches, and pollen. Cases of asthma, allergic disorders, and allergic rhinitis have risen in India in the past 2 decades. There are many reasons for this increase in respiratory problems. Climate change, air pollution, poverty, and the economic boom of the 1990s all make it harder to breathe for Indians. At least 37.5 million Indians suffer from asthma. For context, that's half the size of the UK's population. And India accounts for more than 10% of the total number of asthmatics in the world. Now let's look at how each of these 4 factors contributes to the decline in respiratory health. India's air pollution stats are impressively horrifying. 77% of Indians are exposed to pollution levels that exceed the World Health Organization's prescribed safety standards. 26% of the world's loss of life expectancy because of air pollution is from India. That's more than a quarter of this massive number. Now, what are the major causes of air pollution? Well, that's where we come to points 2 and 3. Poverty and the economic boom of the 1990s. Poverty. Nearly 70% of Indians live in poverty, sustaining themselves and their families on less than 150 rupees a day. Out of an estimated 65 million cases of respiratory trouble, more than 80% are because of burning firewood, kerosene, and cow dung cakes. If people stopped using firewood and kerosene or cow dung, it would save approximately 27 million people's lives from breathing problems like COPD, asthma, and allergic rhinitis. But with crippling poverty and inflation, the poor in India have to choose from either dying of hunger and cold or dying from respiratory problems and disease, all because of the wealth disparity. Number 3, the economic boom and industrial dumping. Ironically, while over 70% of India lives in crippling poverty, the economic boom of the 1990s, which made many Indians wealthy, is responsible in part for the increase in the country's respiratory problems. The economic boom led to more wealth in the hands of citizens, which led to buying cars, bikes, and other vehicles which use petrol or diesel. The burning of fossil fuels in cars combined with the emissions from industries both make the environment even worse to live in. Pollution monitoring in India is carried out by 4,000 online continuous emission monitoring systems called OSEMs. They categorize industries based on their pollution risk. Delhi, one of the most polluted parts of the country and the world, has 154 of these industries in 23 districts, which all fall into the all-red air polluting industry categories. And what does this increase in industrial emissions do? Well, repeated exposure to toxic air causes cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, lung cancer, strokes, preterm birth, type 2 diabetes, and a range of other cancers. Number 4, climate change. Keeping all other factors aside, climate change is responsible for increased breathing problems and allergies across the world. While air pollution, industrial dumping, and poverty all lead to climate change itself is making the world unhealthier. We have heat waves, longer summers, and hotter days because of climate change. This creates an environment that's perfect for a really long pollen season. And pollen is the leading cause of allergies and respiratory problems in most parts of the world. It would be the leading cause of respiratory problems in India too if we didn't have such terrifying pollution numbers. Climate change makes the earth warmer. This leads to pollen becoming stronger, and it makes pollen season last even longer. We are literally making the earth more toxic to live in with every passing minute. As the environment suffers, we suffer with it. Earth will keep living long beyond all of us. So isn't it time we made a change to save our future?